One of the major reasons why you can't follow native speakers is that they deliberately shorten certain sounds. They use reductions and contractions. We talked about reductions in the previous episode, and now we'll look at some common contractions. You will notice that a contraction always comes with an apostrophe. 1. Contractions relate to will. I will becomes I'll. You can also say it in a very lazy way. Oh, think about it. Oh, think about it.
I'll tell you what's wrong with. I'll tell you what's wrong with.
You will becomes you'll. You'll like it. You'll like it.
You'll change the deadline. You'll change the deadline.
It will becomes it'll. It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
It'll always be part of us. It'll always be part of us.
That will becomes that'll. That'll be fine. That'll be fine.
That'll look a little nicer. That'll look a little nicer.
This will becomes this'll. This'll only take a minute. This'll only take a minute.
This'll just take you a few minutes. This'll just take you a few minutes.
She will becomes she'll. She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
I don't know if she'll.
We will becomes we'll or will. We'll arrive there around 3 p.m. We'll arrive there around 3 p.m.
We'll fall down the rabbit hole. We'll fall down the rabbit hole.
They will becomes they'll. They'll get home before it gets dark. They'll get home before it gets dark.
They'll make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. They'll make you feel a little bit uncomfortable.
What will becomes what'll. What'll you have? What'll you have?
Hopefully that's what'll happen to you today. Hopefully that's what'll happen to you today.
Who will becomes who'll. Who'll take care of you? Who'll take care of you?
Who'll find themselves entrenched. Who'll find themselves entrenched.
How will becomes how'll. How will we find each other? How will we find each other?
How will you fix it? How will you fix it?
2. Contractions relate to be. You are becomes your. You can also say it in a very lazy way. You're amazing. You're amazing.
You're saying.
They are becomes there or they're. They're already here. They're already here.
And they're going to be paying taxes. And they're going to be paying taxes.
We are becomes we're or were. We're going to do this. We're going to do this.
We're probably in.
Who is becomes whose. Who's your professor? Who's your professor?
So who's most excited for baby number 4? So who's most excited for baby number 4?
When is becomes when's. When's the party? When's the party? How is becomes how's. How's it going? How's it going? Why is becomes why's. Why's that guy looking at me? Why's that guy looking at me?
And he said, why's your head down? And he said, why's your head down?
3. Contractions relate to have. I have becomes I've. I've seen this. I've seen this.
All my life I've been interested in. All my life I've been interested in.
You have becomes you've. You've done this. You've done this.
No matter where you've come from. No matter where you've come from.
He has becomes he's. He's been looking for a job since he got fired. He's been looking for a job since he got fired.
He's got a high-powered manager. He's got a high-powered manager.
They have becomes they've. They've never been to Disney before. They've never been to Disney before.
They've studied the institutions that.
We have becomes we've. We've just finished up our chores. We've just finished up our chores.
We've created a tax system that.
What have becomes what have. What have we done? What have we done?
Michelle, what do we got? Michelle, what do we got?
How have becomes have. Have you been? Have you been?
How have we done this? How have we done this?
You had becomes you'd. I was sorry to hear that you'd have been waiting. I was sorry to hear that you'd have been waiting.
You've been working really long hours.
4. Contractions relate to would. I would becomes I'd. I'd ask your mom first.
But actually, I'd rather just do things on my BlackBerry.
She would becomes she'd. She'd be better off in a different city.
Or assumed she'd win.
We would becomes we'd. We'd like to go to dinner with you. We'd
take these walks around.
It would becomes it'd. It'd be better if we went there today.
So do you think it would be good for the economy?
That Would becomes that'd. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be fun.
I think that'd be terrible for the country. I think that'd be terrible for the country.
5 contractions relate to not. Did not becomes didn't. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
And I didn't immediately. And I didn't immediately.
Does not becomes doesn't. He doesn't understand what you said. He doesn't understand what you said.
Well, oxytocin doesn't only act on your brain. Oxytocin doesn't only act on your brain.
Are not becomes aren't. We aren't available that day. We aren't available that day.
You aren't aware of the processes. You aren't aware of the processes.
Was not becomes wasn't. It wasn't what I expected. It wasn't what I expected.
It wasn't too long before I was.
Could not becomes couldn't. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe my eyes.
I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this.
Would not becomes wouldn't. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it.
But now, I want to know what you think. But now, I want to know what you think.
Should not becomes shouldn't. You shouldn't eat too much junk food. You shouldn't eat too much junk food.
Support shouldn't be invisible just because. Support shouldn't be invisible just because.
Must not becomes mustn't. You mustn't do that. You mustn't do that.
You mustn't negotiate. You mustn't negotiate.
Will not becomes won't. I won't be able to make it to the meeting. I won't be able to make it to the meeting.
It won't be solved. It won't be solved.
Please remember that contractions are used in everyday English, but they are not allowed in academic papers or other formal occasions. But most of the time, just feel free to use them. Thanks for watching. I'm Xiaobing Bao. See you next time. Bye bye.